Hi, welcome back to another episode of Quick Clean Eats. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing you how to make a fig glazed salmon. So stay tuned, I'll be showing you that right away. Alright, so I had a lot of people ask me about my fig glazed salmon that I posted on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going to show you how I make it. It's pretty simple. So what I got here is a couple of black dried figs. You can get fresh ones if they're available right now on the market, but for right now, we only have dried. So I'm going to just take, for this recipe, for one salmon, I just need about 4 black figs. So I'm going to take the top off, the little cap, then I'm going to split it down the long ways. Then I'm going to cook it. This is what's going to make my fig glaze. So what I'm going to do is take my pan, heat it up. So what I do is just have my little pan here. I'm going to add my black figs, the 4 that I cut. I'm going to add about 2 ounces of rice wine vinegar. I like rice wine right now because it's sweet. So that one's really good. Then I'm going to add 2 ounces of sugar. I'm going to let that cook down. I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of kosher salt, and that's going to cook. While that's cooking, I'm going to start seasoning my fish. So what I got here is a 7-ounce piece of salmon, skin on. Right now I'm using farm raised. When wild is in season, I'll use wild, but for right now, I'm using farm raised. So I'm going to take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, season on both sides. I'm going to take a little of my special seasoning, a little kosher salt, and set it aside. So now I'm going to wait for my figs to cook. Now I'm going to make my puree. So they're cooking down. This is all it's doing is rehydrating the fig. Since this is a dried fig, I'm just reintroducing a little flavor to it. So what I want to do is just cook it for about 3 minutes. Just letting it simmer, letting it pull out the natural flavors of the fig. You can always tell when they're cooked when they're getting a little soft. Right now they're still hard, so they're still cooking nice and soft. So I'm just trying to cook them down to where I get a nice little mash. And now I'm just going to chop them up, mash it, puree it. You can also throw it in a Vitamix if you have that, or just any kind of blender. But for this purpose, I want it a little bit chunky, so I'm just going to chop it just to get a nice sear. So I'm just waiting for that to cook. While I'm waiting for that, I'll give you guys a couple of little tips. This fig glazed salmon can be done on anything. You can do it on sea basses, any kind of seafood, even on chicken, even on lamb. I've done fig glazed rack of lamb. So those are just a couple little tips that you can use for the fig glaze. So now you know the basic recipe of what the fig glaze is. Just a little vinegar, a little sugar. Now if you take that and think about that even a little bit more, that's basically like a little gastrique. Very classic French cooking. You know, something I learned back in culinary school a while ago. So right at this point, they're already getting soft. I can already mash them just with my spatula. And that's what I'm going to do is just mash them up a little bit. As it cooks down, what this is doing, the sugar and the vinegar are making almost like a syrup. And that's what I want. I want it to become like a syrupy base. That way I can spread it evenly on top of the salmon. But also, you can also do it very crunchy. Not crunchy, that's not the right word. I would say almost, like rough. Because you could show the figs off, you know. I mean, if you want to, or if you want to make it smooth, then you can do it smooth. For my purpose, I want to show them off a little bit. So now I'm going to set them off to the side. Now I'm going to heat up my other pan to saute my salmon. As you all know, I only cook with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. You can cook with butter if you choose to. And if you do, use real butter, only use margarine, because it changes the flavor. So while my pan's heating up, I'm smashing my figs in the pan. Again, this is just to get the fig out of the shell of it, because it's weird. Fig is almost like a dragon fruit. There's like so many little seeds and sugar inside them, especially if you can get fresh ones. These are dry, so you'll be able to see just a little bit of how it looks after it's been mashed. I mean, it looks really almost like a sauce, almost like a jam. Another thing I usually do with this, I also make like a grilled cheese, like a little brie cheese, sourdough, and just a little bit of this glaze on top. It's so good. The sweetness of it is amazing. All right, so the pan is heating up. As we all know, you can't, stress enough how important it is to get the olive oil just a little bit hot before you put the salmon down. The salmon always goes down presentation side down. If I was going to do crispy salmon, I would go skin down first. But for this one, I'm showing off the fig glaze. In the background, I also didn't mention, I have my oven already at 350 high. If you don't have a convection oven at home, you can just set it up to 400 degrees regular temp. This is what I'm going to throw it in. So what I'm doing is creating a hard sear on one side. I'm going to flip it over, put my crust on, and then it's going to go in the oven for maybe like 4 minutes just to cook it all the way. When I cook my seafood here, I always try to go medium rare. It preserves the nice natural fat of the seafood, and it also, you got to always figure out. For me, it's a little bit different. When I'm cooking here and I'm trying to produce for 200 people or even up to 50 people one night, a la carte, I always think about from the time the plate goes in the window to the time the plate goes outside, that fish is cooking just a little bit more every little second. So if I cook it 100% down here in the kitchen, by the time it gets to your table, it's going to be a little well done. So that's just a little trick that I do, is always send out my seafood medium rare. And as we all know in our business or even at home, if it does come out a little undercooked, you can always throw it back in the oven. But if you overcook it, there's nothing you can do. It's already shot, it's already done. So those are just things that you always have to pay attention when you're cooking seafood. Seafood right now is probably one of my favorite things to cook. I feel like you can be a lot more creative with it, There's so much potential to do stuff. So you can see the nice sear I have going on the salmon right now. I mean, it's beautiful. So now at this point, I'm going to take a spoon and I'm going to put my fig glaze right on top. Just like that. Really take your time on this. Because like I said, I didn't puree mine. I didn't make it real smooth. I wanted it still to show like the figs, how they look, So they're going to stick on and they might fall off. So you got to keep on just laying them on the way you want. So just take your time with this part of it. Make sure that you put it the way you want. But I mean, look at that. It looks gorgeous. So at this point, it's already set to go in the oven. So it's going to go in the oven for, like I said, 4 to 5 minutes at the max to bring it out medium rare. So stay tuned. We'll be right back in 4 to 5 minutes, which will be sped up for you because of the YouTube world. You'll come back and it's all said and done. You're lucky to not have to go through the wait time. So I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. It's been about 4 to 5 minutes and the salmon should be done by this time. So I'm going to pull it out the oven so we can see. So you can see the salmon is done 100%. It's medium rare at this point, which is what I wanted. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my spatula, take the salmon, and just serve it on the plate. I'm going to drizzle some of the sauce on top, and that's basically it. So that's how you have it. That's a fig glazed salmon. Very simple, very easy. Thank you so much for watching this week's video. I hope to see you guys again next week. As always, don't forget to hit subscribe. Leave me any feedback, any comments, anything that you want to see in future episodes. I'm always open for new ideas. Thank you guys so much. See you next week. Take care. Bye.